everyone. Tonight I'm going to actually talk about how to install Solr 6.6.2 on your local machine, and then it's gonna lead into how you would install Sitecore 9.0.1 in your local instance. You obviously need 6.6.2 in order to do that. So I'm just going to do an actual guided walkthrough of how to do that. So to get started, the first thing you need to do is download Solr. So you can go out and you can just search for Solr 6.6.2 download. Click on that option, and then you're going to click on the index of distributor blah 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 blah, and it's basically a copy of all the different Solr versions, and then you can find the one that you specifically need. In this instance, it's 6.6.2. Which is a prerequisite for 9.0.1. Obviously, you could probably theoretically do a even newer version of Solr to ensure that you're always up to date with the latest version of Solr. But I'm just going to show specifically 6.6.2 in this training. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and just download the zip. So I'm going to click on the zip file here, and then in a little while it's going to finish this file. Alright, it's now completed the download of Solr 6.6.2. So now we're going to actually go and see this in the file system, and we're going to extract this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place it in this is my PC, my C drive. I'm going to find a folder called Solr. I believe it already exists. I don't actually want that one. I want to create a new folder called Solr, capital S. Enter, and I'm going to place the 6.6.2 inside that. So I'm going to call it Solr 6.6.2, just like that. And then when I do that, it's actually going to create two copies of it. So actually, I want to step back and just do that. It's just the way that unzipping a file works, or unzipping a zip file would work, is that it actually creates a folder for the name of the zip file. Alright, it has finished unzipping that file, so we're going to go over to C drive, the Solr folder, and Solr 6.2, and here's all our Solr files. The next step is to download a service manager called the Not Sucking Service Manager. Not a very pleasant name for the tool, but it's actually a very useful tool to use. I may already have it on here actually. It looks like I do. So if you don't have it installed already, all you have to do is go out to Google and type in NSSM, and I believe the version of 2.2.4 is what you'd download. 2.24 is the version that you'd download. So you just download the latest release, download it, and install it. Or actually, you don't actually install it, you place it in your file system. So as you can see, I have it placed here. I'm actually going to move this because this doesn't make sense to have it in this location. So I'm actually going to go up to here, and I'm just going to copy this or cut this, and I'm going to move it up to the C drive. So there I have NSSM 2.24. And now what I want to do is start going through the process of getting Solr to run as a service. So that's what NSSM is used for, is to get, so Solr doesn't run by default as a service on your machine. If you don't have that set up, then it would just run one time as needed, but you really want it to run as a service. So the next step is I'm going to actually tell it to install that service. So I'm going to go out to PowerShell, or go out to my command prompt, right click on command prompt and select Run as Administrator. And now I'm actually going to navigate to that NSSM folder. So cd dot dot, and then I'm going to go cd.nsm 2.24, I think is where I put it. Okay, so I'm in it, and now I'm going to run that command of nssm.exe, and I'm going to say install, and then you just give the name of the Solr instance that you want to install. So I'm going to call this Solr 6.662. just to give it a proper name so that I always know what the service is. It's a service for Solr, and the version is 6.6.2. So I'll click that. And I think I actually have to go one level deeper, I think. Let's just check this real quick. Yeah, so I have to go into Win64, actually. So Win64, and then I can do dir again, and there is the SSM. And the cool thing about command prompt, if you guys have never used command prompt before, is you can just press the up arrow, and it will restore things that you've typed in it previously. So if you make a mistake, you're not in the right directory, you can just press the up key and then you'll be in the right directory. And then you can click this, and it's going to open up this dialog where you're going to start selecting where your Solr instance is at. So then the next thing is the path is going to be where I installed 6.6.2 to. So I'm going to go into Solr, my blank Solr here. I'm probably going to delete 6.6.1, which I installed for 9.0, the original release. So I'm going to click Solr 6.6.2, click bin, and then I'm going to select the Solr command. So then it automatically populates all this information. And then lastly, I'm going to create some arguments that are always going to run when the service is run. So I'm going to run start, parameter P. This is the port that you're going to use. Based off documentation, you can use any port that you want. You can use port 81, you can use port 662, which I'm going to do to represent the instance of 662 that I'm installing. And then there's a few other just quick parameters. I'm not exactly sure what those do, but those are required for my Solr instance. And then all you need to do is click install service. And then it's behind the scenes, it's gone ahead and installed that into your services area. So if you just type services here, and then you scroll down to the S area, you'll see that I now have my Solr service. And you can actually get it running by clicking the start button, or right clicking and clicking start. So now it's running. So now you can actually go to HTTP. So we haven't set up HTTPS for Solr yet. That's what I'm going to be going into next. But localhost and then 662 to represent that. So once that loads, you should see a Solr instance running. You can see your cores. You can see various things related to Solr. So you're all set in terms of having Solr set up. Now we need to look at getting SSL set up for our Solr instance. So the next thing to do is typically you're going to want to get JRE installed. I believe I already have this installed as well. But if you go out to the web, you type in JRE and you want version 1.8, you can go to this link right here, and you're going to see that you're going to be downloading environment. It's actually not JRE 1.8, but you're actually needing version 8. Anything greater than, I mean, this version is fine. The document I was referring to when I was originally creating this was saying version 8 update 141. So obviously 161 to 141 would work, or you can go back further. So if you're running on Windows, which most people are, you'd find the Windows x64, assuming you're in a 64-bit operating system, which most people are nowadays. Then you would just download the, depending on which one. So you can download for the offline. It's ideally what you do to download the exe. Download that, install it, and you're good to go with JRE on your local machine. The next thing is then you're going to use the key tool, which is a tool which will help you generate certificates. That's part of JRE, or Java, I forgot what it stands for, Java Runtime Environment. So the next thing is we're going to create those certificates. So to do that, we're going to go back to our command prompt, and we're going to go find the key tool. So let's go find this JRE tool. So we're going to look inside Program Files. And just so you know, you don't have to just type one thing at a time like I'm doing. I'm just typing one directory up each time. You can actually specify a path if you want, if you know where it's at. I kind of get into a force of habit of not doing it that way. So you can also do DRE to see what's in here. I'm looking for the folder called just Java, so I can now do CD Java. Now I'm in the Java folder. I can again do DRE, and I can see that I'm actually running 1.7.08. So I'm actually going to need to go back and download 1.8. So let's go ahead and do that, or 8.0 of JRE. So let's just go ahead, click on this. I didn't select the license agreement, so I accept that, and then I can click this, and now it will download. All right, it's downloaded. One thing I should note before we get too far in the Solr install is it's important that you have Windows 10 on your machine. If you have anything below that, you're going to have a lot of issues with the next part of this video, which is installing this or getting this certificate generated and then trying to get your Solr instance to use that certificate. Because there's limitations. Older versions of Windows, especially 8 can be one of the problem ones, 8.1, 8.0, or even 7. If you're all the way back there, you definitely want to look at installing a newer version of Windows. I would highly recommend it. Or you're just, I don't know exactly what would happen in a Windows 7 environment, but I would assume that you might find that you can't even install it. I'm just going to use default path information for this Java that I'm installing, because it doesn't really matter where it puts it. I can find it and then run this key tool that I'm going to run here in a second. It's just saying I have some out of date Java versions detected, so I can actually uninstall that, which I will do. I must be honest, I haven't really kept my certain things up to date on this machine. So it says successfully uninstalled Sitecore or Java 9, not Sitecore 9. And now I will continue on. Click next, and now it says I've completed the installation of Java on my machine. So now, if I go back to the command prompt, I should see that if I go and do directory, I actually do cd ... Should have actually looked where I installed that. Directory, let's see, C Java directory. It takes, let me just look on the file system real quick where I might have installed that. It might install it in program files, which it looks like it did. Here it is, the installation. So I'm actually need to go to cd ... and then cd ... and then I'll do cd program files Java. So now, like I said, you can go multiple levels if you know where you're going, which I didn't. And then I'll do cd jre 1.8.0.161. Now I'm in that folder. I'm going to look at the directory again. I'm going to try to get into the bin folder. And that's it. And then it should have the tool in here called key tool. So here it is, keytool.exe. So we are good to go. So the next part is actually running our command that's actually going to create our certificate. It's going to auto-generate a certificate for us. There's a few steps after that to make sure the certificate is in the right format to work within Windows. But we're going to start out with just creating the certificate. So the first part is just running the keytool.exe, and then we're going to pass in some parameters. So I'm going to pass in gen key pair, and there's some instructions online that says to run this in a different folder. I don't like doing that. I actually like installing it in the bin folder, and then we can move it to the correct folder after we've already gone through these steps. That's kind of what I'm doing here. And so if you've seen it done some other way online, you can definitely do it that way if you want to, but this is just the way I'm doing it. So I'm going to give the alias for my SSL cert, the name of Solr 662-SSL, and then I will call it key alg, which is the algorithm they use is RSA. Key size is a 2048. that's the size of the certificate or the type of certificate you're using. The key pass is the password that we would have for our certificate. I always call it secret. Obviously, you should use whatever you would like. You can actually use a custom one, whatever you are going to remember to use. Store pass, secret. You're going to need these later on when you try to add it to Sitecore or add it to Windows. Validity 9999. Key store. There again, I'm going to call it Solr 662.ssl.keystore.jks and san equals DNS, and these are just the paths to it. So if you are in a different environment, let's say you were setting this up for dev or QA or UAT environment, setting up potentially Sitecore, but you're also setting up Solr, you would want to make sure these paths represent that environment. Obviously, localhost 127.0.0.1 would also work in this environment, but you might have some sort of QA or UAT environment URL as well as used. You'd probably want to specify those as well, those paths. So IP 127.0.0.1. And then I am going to say the name. I'm going to say CNAME. And this is just information for our certificate. I'm only using localhost, like I said. Organizational unit. O is organization. L is location. ST equals state. And C equals country. So now this should run, and it's going to create our certificate. It might bomb also because I just typed it all out, but let's just run it. It's just going to give a message saying JKS key store uses a proprietary format, and it's a unique format, and it's probably not necessarily going to be something that your system is going to recognize. So it's recommending that you migrate it to something else, which is actually what we're going to kind of do. So the next step involves converting it into key 12. So to do that, we can actually do the key tool again. And we're going to say import key store and source key store. We're going to say Solr 662.ssl.keystore.jks. So we're pulling in that one it created, and we're saying destination key store SOLR 662 SSL.keystore.p12. Source store type is JKS, and destination store dest store type is PKCS12. To let that run, it's also going to now ask for the password. It doesn't actually type out, or when I'm typing it, it doesn't show what I'm typing, which is probably good for this tutorial. It says that it was tampered with, so let's just try that again. Secret. Saying it doesn't like that for some reason. It looks like I used dash secret for some reason up here. Yeah, it's not normal. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and delete that certificate I created originally. So I'm going to go back to Program Files. I'm going to go to Java. So I made a typo mistake, and this is why I'm now fixing that typo mistake by just deleting the certificate it generated, and I'm going to create a whole new one. So it's this file right here. I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to now rerun that first one I ran and just fix this dash secret I accidentally added in. So it's the store pass was something else. So that's what was wrong with this item. And again, just removing that from it. And now we can go back to the start and run this updated script. So it's going to use the correct password, not the wrong one. And now we're going to rerun the one that was shorter. And now it's going to ask for password, and it should now be the correct password that we're going to use. And it shouldn't tell me that I can't do it. So see how it's now working? It's successfully imported, and now it has converted it into a P12 file. So if we go back to the file system, right here, you'll see now it's a JKS file, and it's also created a P12 file. Now, there's typically one other step to this where you use a tool called OpenSSL. I may also have that already installed. It doesn't look like I do. Oh, it might be here. So let's go. Yeah, so possibly here. I'll just go ahead and reinstall it just to show that step. So you can go out to the web. How about this? Let's go to this URL. It's actually in the notes for that I have for this. We need a full-gan SSL open SSL 0.9.8 R x64 86 Win 64 revision 2.zip. Also typed it wrong because it works for me on my other machine, unless it's case sensitive. Win 64. There you go. Yeah, it was case sensitive. You just need capital SSL. So that was really all that was wrong with it. So now it's downloaded. So we're going to go show in folder, and we can extract it out to C program files 86 and then open SSL. We're going to browse to it. Program files, and then we're going to have to create that open SSL. And we'll just select that. We're going to extract that real quick. Say continue. Actually, we're going to go out to that folder I created in, because I think it created in the wrong path again. Actually, up a level 86. Open SSL. Yeah, so I actually don't want this to be in this folder. I just want to copy that out of there and paste it in here. And then delete that folder. So now it's all here. It's easy to find. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my command prompt. And now I'm going to try to run this OpenSSL thing from here to update my Solr certificate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy. I'm going to go back up to program files, C, program files x86, and then I'm going to select and find the programs and OpenSSL, and I'm just going to place them here for now while I do some stuff to them. Oh, it's because I haven't changed my directory yet. So cd dot dot, cd dot dot, cd dot dot, and then I am in cd dot dot or cd dot dot cd program files x86. I think there's a space there. x86. I'm going to go cd open SSL. Now I'm going to go back and run this command. Now it should work. Again, you have to type your password. And again, it's just that password that you typed in originally, which was for me was secret, so I typed secret in 3 times. And now it's all good. So now I have these 3 files here. So the next thing is installing these into your certificates part of your interface. So to do that, I typically just type in certificates, and then I get this manage computer certificates. I click on it and click yes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create a trusted root certificate authority, which basically is the highest level of certificate or highest level of trust of a certificate. And so you can just now click on all tasks and do import. And I'm just going to let that be as so. I'm going to do browse, and I am going to find those certificates, which let's move them first before so I don't really want them here. I actually want to place them in my Solr instance. So I'll copy that, Windows. I go up to Solr 6.2, bin, server, etc. And I'm just going to place them here. So that's easy as that. And then I'm going to go back and I'm going to go find those folder or where I just placed those files. So that's going to be in Solr 6.6.2, server, etc. And then I'm just going to change this to all files, and I'm going to actually select the P12 file. Click next, and now you type in your password for that. You can display it if you want. Obviously, it doesn't matter because it's secret, but it shows you that I'm doing that. You don't need to check any of these other options. You can make the key exportable if you want. If you're installing some sort of Azure Pass environment or something along those lines, you could do that, but I'm just going to click next. And it says where I'm placing it, which is a trusted root certificate authorities, which is fine. Click next, click finish, and now it's been imported. It's all here. So the next step is now configuring Solr so it uses this certificate. Because the certificate's all set up, it's ready to go, it's trusted. If anything uses that SSL cert on this environment, it's trusted fully and it can be accessed fully. So let's go ahead and first let's stop our Solr instance. We can just click stop real quick so it's not running any longer. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go find a place where I can configure the configuration for the Solr instance. So if I go to the bin folder inside Solr, so inside C, Solr 6.6.2, and then bin, there is a solr.in.cmd. So if you right click this and you go to edit or use, you have a lot of different options here. I don't know what's telling me that. Basically, I wanted to open this anyways. There. So open in Notepad, you can use Notepad++, you can use Visual Studio Code, whatever makes sense for you guys. And we're going to scroll down to the bottom, and you can just add the following settings that I'm going to do. You could also theoretically update these as well. So actually, let's just go ahead and update these. So rem is a type of comment. It's a weird naming for a comment. So all you have to do is remove these comments, is remove the REM space. So now these are actual settings that are visible by Solr. So I'm just going to do that. I keep actually going too far. And then we already know it's in etc. Solr SSL. The only thing that's missing here is it needs to be 662. Notice that it's using the JKS certificate. So we just need to make sure all this information is correct, which appears to be correct. But we can confirm. Let's just go ahead and save. So we're going to do Control S, or you can go up here to File Save, whichever one you want to do. I just did both, so it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to close, and now the next step is getting my Solr instance to fire up again. If it doesn't fire up, it means you've done something wrong. It's going to complain to you. So you can click Start. And now it says it's running. So the next thing is try to see if you can get your instance to run in HTTPS instead of HTTP. If you don't specify a protocol like this URL has, then it's HTTP. If you want HTTPS, you just specify HTTPS. And you know this works because it's saying it's secure and it's saying HTTPS. So we are good to go. This is the conclusion of installing Solr 6.6.2 on your instance. And then the next videos I'm going to do, I'm going to show how to install Sitecore 9.0.1 with syphilis, which is a really bad sounding naming of a utility, but it's a very useful tool for getting your Solr instances up running, or not your Solr instances, but your Sitecore 9 instances up and running really quickly. Once you have Solr, there's a few other prerequisites. I'm not necessarily going to cover those. I'm just going to show how you would install those, and then we're going to deep dive into using syphilis to install an instance and then get going real quick with that. So that is it. If you have any questions on this Solr setup, please let me know. If you have questions specific to 8 or 7 or any of those versions prior to 10, I would say your best bet is to reach out on Slack or reach out on Stack Exchange to get answers on those specific questions, because one, I don't have Windows 8 or 7 on any of my environments. I only have 10, and there is going to be a lot of challenges you're going to face when trying to do that. You're going to find ways to get around it, especially in 8, to get around these scenarios. But in 7, I think you're really going to fight an uphill battle. I believe it doesn't even say it supports 7, so I'm not going to be able to help you, and I don't know if there's many people in the community that will be able to help you in that scenario either. So that's it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Leave in the comments below. All right, that's it. Bye-bye.